Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have one hell of a game for you guys today. It's a 2v2 on Highway to Seoul, which is technically a 2v2 map, but it is also in the 1v1 ranked pool, and this was an in-house done on the bootcamp server, so not my server, but the bootcamp Discord server, and I'm on the same team as the Lieutenant Colonel Stripple, and we're going up against the Colonel Subway Samurai and the Major General Hideout, also known as Claver, and these guys are some very tough opponents, so Stripple and I planned this out pretty in-depth, had an idea of what we wanted to do. The execution of it, well, no plan survives contact with the enemy. So what we wanted to do was have a bit of a screening force going toward Echo Delta, make sure that our opponents did not get into the forward towns, at least that was the hope. And because of this, I have two Tefa Es, we also have a Ninja from Stribble that's going up to sort of spot this stuff here, and the rest of my push is going to be going in, including a Merkava 3D Baz, right up into this section of town, hopefully able to grab the forward town, and I'd wanted to do that with some Moglon. Now, my ally is going to be playing between Delta and Gulf sort of for the highway itself. He's taking Blue Dragons, and our opponents have USSRs, we can see from the MI8 MTV here, and MI2 is going to be from a Czech armored deck. So that is going to be quite a difficulty, something we really need to focus on. Right now we have Claver, well, I guess I'll call him Hideout for this. We have Hideout's opener coming up, and he is unloading here just for fear, I'm assuming, of an ATGM, Hilo, something like that, which we don't have with us. But due caution is very nice, and my Tefa E is probably not in the best position to do this. I should have probably come up here and low hovered right on that initial sort of getaway, but I was hoping to rocket pod anything that came down, or at least just be a little bit scary. That was the goal there. In the meantime, double key Marashiki moving up. I have Eye Shermans, I have lots of Zeldas with Rovite that are going forward, and we're trying to, basically my entire goal was to get Echo locked down from the opener. So we really want to never let the red team into Echo, and if we can do that, then we can pressure in from the right and from this side into Delta, and from the middle of the highway into Delta, and make this really not a safe place for them to be. But I have lost my Tefa E courtesy of a Tunguska back there, and instead of Moglon, I accidentally put Bedouins up here, and they are shooting with their M14, they are visible. This is not looking great. Plus, we have to keep in mind, so Hideout really likes BMD3s, and I had completely forgotten about this, so that's a lot of Conqueror's M's that are coming in at my ordinarily pretty tough for an opener 5 frontal armor Eye Shermans. These guys are usually pretty decent for fire support, but I get them out a little bit too far ahead, my 3D Baz is too far behind, and I don't really have Rovate, so this is not a well-organized push. And my opponent here definitely was better organized at the beginning. Plus we have all of this stuff from Subway Samurai here with his Czech armored deck moving forward, Zalaznichi, and behind it are more than likely several Modernas. Those guys are of course not true super heavies in that individually outside of an armor deck as well, they do tend to lose against most super heavies, but they are still very scary in an armored deck when they have higher veterancy, and of course they have very high availability. So BTR-90 coming down here from Hideout, and I don't know if this was loaded or not, but we take it out. Moglon team right here is very tough to deal with, and my first buys were all trying to get this side Echo just really locked down. So I have double tier on 5 Blazer, of course this is a recon tank here, and we have some infantry that are going forward, and the next buy is going to be a second Baz, because, you know, I really want to make those BMD3s 25-point wastes of points. This is what I was going for with this, and 3D Bazes are very tough. 22 front, 23 AP, 10 RPM, very nice tanks indeed. So we are actually spotting the VDV, and then the, if you guys saw the title of this video, it's probably something along the lines of Mar290 the deck. We are going to be getting Mar290s up and running, and my ally here is going for a bit more in the air. Now, this is interesting. I didn't expect it. So Stribble, at the very start, I had expected him to keep most of his stuff in here, closer in toward Delta, and really do this tank brawl, because double key Marashiki is still a big threat to the Modernas that have only 21 frontal armor, which, I mean, so, well, Kimaras are down at 20, so it's a little rough, but 23 AP is very nice, especially with a higher RPM from the Kiyomarus. But he's going forward actually all the way over in Gulf, so Habyong 90, JSDF Rangers, through here, Hachinanashiki, there's even a short arrow back here to discourage a lot of stuff in the air, and had I known that, I probably would have shifted over a little bit more to the left, let my Rovite be chaffed to be in front of his Kiyomarus, because as we can see, the Modernas have a lot more space where they can really push and make their presence known because there's chaff in front of them, and the Kiyomarus, even with the Hachinana here for recon, really can't as much. They're really being zoned out quite a bit. Now, my Moglon spikes are off. I'm setting a little bit of a trap here for these T80Bs. 75 points apiece is not the end of the day. Well, it's not the end of the world for Hideout if these go down, but they are still relatively expensive. We get 2 ATGMs right away. 1, 2, boom. Dead T80B, and I was hoping to get the other one, but nice smoke micro here. And very quickly we can see the sort of pressure that can be put in on Echo. I mean, I don't have all that much in Echo itself to really zone these guys, and we are going to be buying that now with ATGMs, but anything through here needs constant tank micro, and even if it gets in, I'm going to see where it goes, and so I can deal with that as it sort of arrives. So another thing that was really nice about this replay, I think, was how well the Red 4 team worked together. I mean, we're going to see it later on here, but it was really just, I don't know what was going on in their comms, but I imagine they were sort of going, okay, well, they have Delta, which, by the way, 3 CV opener, very, very aggressive here in a 2v2, particularly on this map. But I imagine they were sort of thinking, well, okay, this is not looking great, so let's shift over and attack somewhere else. So there's going to be a lot of pressure in from the Red 4 team. This game had way, way, way more back and forths than I would have liked. Of course, everyone wants to just go in and crush the enemy and have a 5-minute adventure and things like that. And this, well, honestly, sometimes in team games I prefer the longer stuff. You know, yeah, it's a little bit less clean gameplay sometimes. Yeah, it can mean that there's more losses on both sides, but sometimes these really just knockdown, drag-out fights are a lot of fun. Now, what was really goofy here, if you notice, these Bamboo are not in a building, and that is going to cost us, because I don't really know. I mean, this was just blind artillery and I guess hoping to score a hit here, but it is going to work, not with just the first one, maybe not even with the second shell, but we do lose, Stribble and I lose that forward CV very early on, and that means all of our reinforcements are going to be really a lot delayed coming in compared to what we'd like. So all of my stuff for Echo has been reinforcing in through here. I purchased it after we got the CV into Bravo, and yeah, that's all going to be delayed. So here's the shift of the field as well. T80B and the OSAs moving backwards. I was hoping to get a couple of them with the Mar290, but it's a little hit or miss. It only fires 4, and it's really good for stunning. It's really good for panicking stuff. It won't kill so much unless you get a direct hit, in which case it's brutal, but you know, you have to be pretty dead on. And now, really, if you look at the overall picture, this could be looking better for us. So we've been pushed out of the very important section of woods right here in Delta. Stribble's position in Golf is arguably a little bit overextended now, in part because I'm not supporting him so much in Delta, and there's Motostrelki moving in a section that I said I really wanted to lock down. Of course, I think we can cure this, and I have the Tsefa-E, I have the Tirans, I have Zelda, and the Rovite. There's a lot of stuff back here to maybe cure this and push into Echo a little bit further, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit rough, and I think this is the one. Yep, bam, look at that. If it was in a building, maybe it would have survived. Even then, it still would have been quite damaged. It's not a guaranteed thing. And Subway's Modernas are, I mean, these guys are doing beautiful work. KF V25s, of course, not the cheapest, 15 points. I mean, it's not expensive either, but yeah, it's a pretty good pickup, right? 50 points worth of infantry that's not going to be functional there. Even the survivors are panicked, and the KF V25 is damaged. And my 3D Bazes are having to sort of play this awkward, I'm in one lane, I'm in the other lane, let's peek over here, let's peek over there, let's see what we can do here, and I can't really get a good line of sight on those Modernas, in part because we don't have really much recon here. We have the Ninja, that's basically it. Probably should have gotten some recon infantry to right here as well. And this is looking rough. Red's ticking +2, it's only 8.5 minutes in, and well, I've got my second Mar290 up right now. The kill list afterward, by the way, on these things, I'll show you guys. I think they did very well. But I also want to show a couple of their strikes that, well, yeah, I mean, I missed on quite a few of them, but some of them were absolutely integral to winning this game, or at least part of it, anyway. So, minor spoilers there, but I imagine in a couple of minutes it's gonna pretty much look like it's going the other direction. So, you know, it was a rough one. It was definitely a rough one. And what I'm doing right now is just, people often stage stuff in here. I thought maybe if it was a fragile CV, we could get a little bit of return for the CV snipe in Bravo, and if not, at least I could damage reinforcing lines, infantry that's coming up, things like that. The unfortunate thing about the Mar290 is it lacks the precision generally to go after something like this Kub M4, where Tubardi might be able to do it. But these T80Bs should look familiar. They are the ones that were rotated over and reinforced, I think, by a third. So that's a lot. Actually, there was at one point 2 down to 1, so there are 2 more here that have been purchased by Hideout, and he's really just amazing with these medium tanks. It really, I mean, 75 points, it's not the most common pick, but it's doing quite a lot. So Habyung barely holding on, Short Arrow barely holding on here. It's a little bit of a shame it's not shooting at these MI8 MTVs, but really awkward line of sight from this section of woods, right? So you almost need to rotate in or out of it a little bit to get the shots off there. MiG-23 MLs, we're going after my Barak, I think. I'm not quite sure. Almost thought for a second they'd be going after the UH-1H here, but we do manage to get that in. And we'll be recapping Bravo, retaking our supply line, which is pretty necessary here, pretty necessary. And at this point, I actually felt really bad about how I was doing, because if you look, Hideout's over here, Subway Samurai is over on the side of Delta. There's not a lot of motion on my side until just now, so I kind of let my ally get a little bit doubled on Golf and Delta. That was that really nice rotation I was talking about earlier from Red, where, you know, Hideout just went, okay, no, let's go over here and push this. So, by the way, there's a short arrow firing in really well. Peace Pheasant 2 does come in, pick up a Moderna, very nice, and gets out, which really surprised me. So that we saw the Cube back there, we saw those triple Osas, but they're no longer here. They were rotated over into Golf. If they were still here, I think that Moderna at least would have been able to get some revenge, if not by itself, certainly from its team. So, you know, give and take, right? There's consequences to every decision in this game. It's part of what makes it so nice, and part of what makes it so awful. So we have Merkava 2Bs coming up, and I'm really just trying to get it so that I can get fire down into this lane. I want to be firing on this road right here, and to do it, I have to move up pretty far into these woods. It is a little bit risky if something comes down. That's why you sort of need screening elements. My spike's out of position here, needs to be moving up to really about this position, or probably here is a very nice one, because you can get line of sight on that ramp moving down, which can often be the difference between catching it too early and not being able to catch it at all. So 52D, KF-16C here, and my Mar290 is in the wrong position. This is one of those swings and misses that I was talking about, and we actually are firing 2 of them now. A third is bought. So I've bought a lot of these things. It's actually part of why I really love this thing, is 90 points. It's less than 1 minute of income. So yeah, I've spent about 3 minutes of income on this, and it has impacted the front line quite a lot. I don't have more tanks moving forward. I don't have more infantry moving forward. But right here, I'm telling my teammate, look, I'm going to go through this way. We are going to put pressure on them in Delta. We're going to stop them over here from being able to focus solely on this Golf push that's gone a little bit too well for my liking. And hopefully we'll be able to make a really big impact here, especially if we can get a CV kill. That's sort of what I was going for at the moment, and why not, right? I have 2 Merkava 3D Bazes against 2 Modernas. Yeah, I have lower veterancy, but I don't know. I was feeling a little bit cocky here. I was thinking, you know what? Maybe we can go in for it. Maybe we can go in for it indeed. So at this point, the 23 ML is circling again, and I'm not the biggest fan of that plane, but I think it certainly did get quite good use here a little bit later on in the game. And I don't know. I mean, 4 HE is sufficient. It's just 100-point plane with 10 ECM is a little bit rough. It's a cheap ASF. I'm not really sure what else Czech National gets. I'd have to check that out. Anyway, so moving in, I have a CV coming up for Echo. 3D Bazes are engaging here just a little bit. Not a good engagement because I don't have a lot of recon and infantry screening yet again. So really a little bit uncomfortable there. My smoke micro is going to be here soon, I think, and was definitely, yeah, the leash is aiming already, so we are going to be getting that support coming in. And the Merkava 2Bs, this is exactly what I was talking about. So BMD3s, very nice. Conquerors M's hit very, very hard, but we shoot a lot quicker. And so we can really get those 25-point IFVs, brutal IFVs, off the board. That was certainly the goal. And this, I think, was maybe going after the Merkava 2Bs. I'm not sure. So 27M coming in here probably after the... Yeah, I'd imagine that was after the 2Bs, because there's 4 30 AP... Goodness gracious. Yeah, 30 AP missiles coming in, but double Shinov, we get 1 miss, 1 crit. Down it goes, 200-point kill, and that finally... It's actually the best kill I've gotten all game. There really, so far, hasn't been all that much going on, just in terms of the engagements that I'm taking. I promise you that changes quite a bit, but looking at my stuff, looking at my allies' stuff, maybe you can see why I definitely... Stribble / I think Haymaker is your Discord name as well. If you're watching this, man, I hung you out to dry a little bit here. I am sorry. So, yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Like, this was the drawback to my deployment as well, is I was really focused on Echo, and because we almost formed this U around Delta and around the highway, we weren't able to support each other. And Hideout and Subway Samurai, because they were working together in Delta, I mean, they have units layered together for pretty much the entirety of the game. So just very different strategies, very different results from those strategies as well. Yeah, goodness gracious, this was a tough game, a really fun one. So we have Zelda's moving up, we have Rovite moving up, and these guys, maybe should have been unloaded already, but I didn't think there was too much in here because the 3D bases hadn't been pushed. So just now we're unloading, and I am relying on the medium optics of the Rovite for these close-in fights. A little bit risky, considering USSR has VDV-90. But here, as I sort of expected, we're just running into Zalaznichi, and the Zeldas and the Rovite will do very well here. Now these are Panzerovnichi, so 5 strength, and they're shooting those rocket launchers at infantry as well as armor, and that is going to be pretty rough. Oh yeah, this is one of them. So let me shift to neutral here for just a second and show you guys. Okay, no, it wasn't quite this one. My apologies. I think it's the next salvo. So we are going to be taking a look at that Mar290 real quick. Well, in just a minute. So my goal is to get this section of trees back, to use that to sort of support my allies' Kiyumaros here. He's moving up now because there finally is chaff here to allow the Kiyumaros to work, but really not quite enough. And yeah, I think we got a side shot. Oh, it was a miss. Dagnabbit, that would have been pretty nice. Anyway, you can see this is not that many points in the Rovate and the Zeldas. There's 15 points apiece, so that's going to be 30 for each double stack, 90 points worth of chaff here, and all of a sudden we have a board presence. The only thing preventing this from pushing in even more is now Red does have a flank on Golf and Charlie, which is a little bit risky as well. And some ATGMs there. Overextending Zeldas are overextending, but such is life. So, a CV buy, because we do need to stop this tick. 16 minutes and 15 seconds in, it's 2:14 to 15, and they are ticking +1, so this is a little bit rough. And now we're going to be moving up to hopefully to take that engagement with the Modernas. I really thought that, oh geez, detract. Yeah, pretty sure that's exactly what I said during as well. Goodness gracious. So I'm trying to clear that detract, otherwise these guys would already be up here, and we could have pincered between the Kiyumaros and the 3Ds, and that would have been a lot of dead Modernas. So unfortunately, really badly timed crit right there. But now we're going to be moving up, and this is just a way of clearing the crit, by the way. It ran out of time anyway, so not really too necessary, but just in case you don't know, if you have resupply and you have sort of detract or something like that, if you fire position while stopped, the resupply, I believe, will clear the crit. So it's a little bit goofy. Yeah, here we are. So BMD3s, these are 50 points each for just the transports, let alone probably VDV-90 inside. So that's almost 200 points worth of reinforcements there is my guess. Triple TADB on this side is really scary, and this is one of the decisive engagements in this game. Kiyumaru stunned by the Mi-24K, and medium tanks moving up to get, hopefully for them anyway, side shot, rear shot armor here. And look at this. I mean, this is just brutal stuff. Brutal stuff. 1-2. No shot from the Kiyumaru. Third shot in. 1 Kiyumaru down. And the Modernas are moving in. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Look at this. BMD3's gone. VDV-90 gone. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of dead right there. So fully half of those reinforcements pretty much out of action. Everything here stunned. Not able to move up to get into the fight for quite a little while. And because of that, actually, I think the Modernas retreated. I think that was sort of the support they were relying on. Second bit of the volley does even more damage to those guys here from the triple Mar290. And returning around, we're getting some shots in on those medium tanks. I wanted to get a kill here. Don't know if I do, actually. Yep, there's... no. I think those all survived. That's actually pretty crappy for me. God. It's a nice pincer from Red. Completely turned ours around. But here it is, 1 shot, 2nd shot, dead Moderna, and this really surprised me. So my 3D bases were injured, we get 1 shot off here, and that was an optical failure, and I was thinking, okay, now we get the kill. Now I get that 2nd shot, come on, 2nd shot, come on. Not reloading fast enough, and here's a fresh 3rd Moderna. I damage it, but I lose the baz, and this is catastrophic. We've lost Golf, we've lost Charlie, we're barely holding on in Delta, Red 4 has this section of woods. What is our way back into this game, man? Because at this point, I almost suggested we surrender. Because honestly, I mean, what do you do here, right? Not only are we in a horrible position on the field, but we're also down quite a lot on tick with only 20 minutes left to fix it, which is not very long at all. So this was looking pretty rough indeed. Yeah, I'm a 24 VP. Nice stun. I was wondering how these guys survived for so long. My 3Bs are a little overextended here. And not the best decision-making abilities, but Draken out of position as well. Otherwise, we should have been able to come up and deal with it. And this was actually really goofy. The 2Bs just didn't engage these Panzerovnichi, even though they have line of sight. Yeah, I don't know. They just sort of sat here and took it. Like, I saw them, and I thought to myself, okay, 2 tank shots and they're gone. But instead, the Panzerovnichi just shot for free until just then. Like, I don't know, man. Sometimes line of sight's a little screwy. What are you gonna do, right? So, Stribble, by this point, the silver lining here is this whole time, well, basically the last 10 minutes or so since we got pushed out of Charlie, he's been building up, directing over into, retaking Charlie, getting this section back for us. And hopefully, here, if we can get Charlie, I mean, that's a +1 tick, right? This is why we wanted to lock down Echo really early with the Bedouins, with these Tirans, with Rovite, with all this fire support, some spikes, some Magwans, things like that. Because even without those heavy tanks, I mean, we're getting some stuff in here. The Modernas have to be careful for side shots from these 2Bs. I have Rovite that are moving up, and I just wanted to spot the CV. I wanted to see what it was, if I could hit it with something impactful. And we are getting now a couple of picks here. Draken is coming up for that Mi-24 VP. A little bit underwhelming of a unit sometimes, but I mean, if it can fire a couple of shots in, it is going to do well. It is going to do pretty well indeed. So Tunguska moving back, Panzerov Nietzsche here from Samurai are spotted. I do like using a lot of these. I think it's creative play, and I mean, when it works, it works. Look at this. His are in the woods, mine are in the open, and my guys are gonna be dying pretty quick, right? I think these guys even survive, right? Which you wouldn't necessarily think that, but a little bit extra support. There you go. My push here has been halted, and yeah, I've missed so many side shots in these Modernas at this point. Goodness gracious. Right, actually, there was one. If we'd gotten the other one, that might have even been a dead Moderna. The 2Bs, bit of an unusual pick. Most people go for the 2As with the transports, but I prefer to have more tank shells, and yeah, you don't have the grenade launchers, but we didn't really need those in here. When we had those infantry fights earlier, the Rovite and the Zelda, I guess we didn't clear them completely out, so that's an argument for the 2A, but I don't know, I like having the 2B as something I can call in. 160 points, you get really a lot of front armor for that. It's excellent fire support for that reason. I mean, really sticky. 18 frontal armor for 80 points. Yeah, the gun's a little anemic, but you don't really buy this thing for the gun performance against tanks. You buy it for its supporting role. So, yeah, I mean, the idea with these was kill IFVs and then have my super heavies, which no longer exist, do most of the heavy lifting. So, sort of the goal. Didn't really work out that way, but such is life. So, at this point, really nice push in from Stribble. I think now we really see the amount that Hideout rotated over into this Delta pincer, because it wasn't nothing, right? And we had a lot of reinforcements from him as well coming up and into Delta from that side as well. And I think, oddly enough, the trading isn't going as horribly as we thought it was at the time. So we'll see at the end of the game here, but I don't know. We definitely, I think Stribble and I definitely felt like we were on the back foot, but at the same time, this pushback, they've just retreated away from it, which usually means that the other team doesn't feel confident meeting it head on. One unfortunate thing, they did actually see the Jiwi Cha drive in here, which is not great, but yeah. And then another switch. So Samurai this time is trying his hand at the highway, well, the road on the right-hand side, which previously was Hideout's domain here, and we'll see how it goes. I like Shermans for fire support in Israeli decks quite a lot, and I still do have that 2B, and now actually we're trying to retake this section of woods as well. The idea is we move back up here. I'm not quite sure how without heavy tanks or super heavy tanks to deal with stuff, but that was the hope, right? And we'll see if it works out. Yeah, Pruskovnichi, I've never really seen, it's rare to get units to route, but we have a routing T-72 M1CZ, 75-point check tank, basically the same as the T-80 Bs that were used by Hideout. Now this one, we actually thought we got kills there, but nope, both of them got out on 1 HP, a little unfortunate for us. Double Peace Pheasant, and I gotta say, Stribble, man, you use those Peace Pheasants, when I send them in, maybe I get a kill, but the plane usually dies. You were striking really deep against Red, and for some reason all those planes were getting out. It really felt like there would have been, I think there would have been a lot of benefit to Red to have just slightly better air defense, and this is a little scary by the way. Oxidate Pakud spotted just there for that second, but the 3B that I brought in is going to be scaring back that Red push just a little. Weapons jam is pretty nice, and we're going to reconstitute this side. It's just taken a lot of attrition. Now it's actually, 10 minutes in, I had most of my stuff on the field, and my ally had not a lot. Now it's my turn. I don't have quite as much on the field as I would like, and my ally instead has this nicely established position here in Charlie. So, a bit of a misclick. Kurnos 2000 instead of the Kurnos on those T-72s. Yeah, bit of a misplay. Goodness gracious. Yeah, we got an optical failure out of it. Did all of 1 damage with that front gun. But, it's 2 dead T-72s. Block 52D does pick up the Kub. And I definitely think the air tab, in 1v1s you think of planes as how to throw the game in under 2 minutes of effort, right? And yeah, they can be really impactful, but they can also really be ways of limiting your presence on the ground. In team games, well-coordinated plane tabs are so oppressive. Right, so you have my ASF here, you had my seed plane coming in, you had my Kurnos, you had Peace Pheasant after that, you had my allies seed plane after that. Like, I mean, there's only so much you can do for air defense, and it really can get pretty rough, a lot quicker than you might think. So here we have a little under 10 minutes left in the game, despite 15 minutes left on the clock, and I'm curious what you guys think is going to happen, how one side or the other is going to claim victory. 15 minutes of +1, and we do actually come out on top. So red is now in the position where they don't need to hold us off for very long, but they do need to hold us off. They do need to either kill the CV here, and I think they probably thought I had a lot more here than I did. If they'd pushed in with infantry and Panzerovnichi, yeah, we would have been hightailing it out of Delta faster than they would even imagine, but reinforcements are coming in. So the reason for that was actually the Kurnos and Kurnos 2000 buy. So as I said, you know, planes, you feel that absence on the field, and here was our moment of vulnerability. If they pushed in on Delta, we'd be relying on basically Stribble's K1 and some of his chaff to sort of counter-push it against the Red 4 team if they went in for that, which maybe is what they were thinking of. I'm not entirely sure. You know, it's never too easy to guess these sorts of mind games with your opponent, even if you know them decently well, which I've spoken with most of these guys. Actually, Subway and I think we have bad matching time zones, generally. But certainly Stribble and I are hanging out quite a bit, doing some friendly games. We did some 1v1s as well. I might put some of those up. Yeah, been good. Anyway, this was another good Mar290 strike. You can see an explosion there, secondary explosion from something on the ground. I'd hit the forward section so many times, I thought maybe they're using the backside of this to stage. So that was the goal there, was sort of to hit the back end of that deployment. And I think, honestly, sometimes you can feel confusion on the map, and I think both of the sides right now we're feeling a little bit like, well, what do we do? Because we pushed in, it didn't work out great. Red pushed in, it didn't work out great. We sort of have this status quo, and yeah, there's the CV snipe, so unfortunately losing that, but actually I thought he lost it, maybe just reposition. That's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean 13 minutes of +1, it's a little bit less than comfortable, but we still do pull out a win here, and this attack from hideout. So there's triple T80B right there, getting some really nice kills for the Red 4 team, and I do almost wonder, short of a super heavy, how do you really deal with this? I mean, ATGMs will do it, but even then, you know, you might get a kill on one, but if they're advancing in, there's 3 of them, they're gonna shoot you. So, especially with the Israeli ATGMs that have 2450 range, and so, oh, never mind, 2625 shows how good I am at the game. Goodness gracious. Yeah, this was just devastating plane tab work. What can men do against such relentless, or reckless hate, rather? Even the BTR-90 wasn't spared from it. I wasn't confident the KFP-25s could handle that, but 1, 2, 3 tanks down, 225 points of tanks killed there in that air raid, and Red now has to retreat on that side, which we're going to be taking advantage of here, and they're trying again, almost alternating, you know, first hideout, then samurai, then hideout, maybe samurai again after that, into this side. But this time there's a super heavy, and I have nothing to match it. The UM is far scarier than the 3B, of course, because I do have 21 front, which is pretty nice, but the real lack here is AP. So 20 AP is just not enough to get through the 21 front of the T80 UM. I have to close within a single range step short of max range to even scratch the paint, at which point that 28-3 is now 24, pounding into my 21 front armor. So the T80 UM wins that tank duel very handily. That's why I'm being really cagey here, getting a little bit of smoke as well. Unfortunately, not able to keep my spikes supplied, or we could have done a little bit more work in this side. And now here we go into Delta once more, trying to deal with those Modernas, just tricky line of sight shenanigans, staying away from that line of fire, and there's the T80 UK spotted. That was actually in the opener, because it can fight decently well. It is a combat capable, if not combat preferred, sort of CV, and you can see the Eye Shermans are screening right now for my 3Bs. They're eating UM shots. That's fine. There's one kill, there's a second kill, and even though it was a bit of a trade there, I mean, that Peace Pheasant too, beautifully worth it in that single run, 320 points worth of kills, and I think that one had gotten other kills besides. Really just crazy stuff coming in. T80 UM is now almost on its own here, just one M1CZ left in the Magwan, and my 3B taking a shot. Yeah, I lose the Magwan for it, but in less than a minute, Red 4 has lost 2 super heavies, 3 medium tanks, lots of their fire support, and that really did stymie this push quite a bit. I mean, there's still two T80Bs, but they don't know. Keep in mind, as hollow of a defense as this is, my spike is out of ammunition, I have very little left in Echo. They're doing a very nice job of pushing in here. They don't know that. We didn't know that we could have, at this point, just walked in for the last 2 or 3 minutes here sometimes. You can't, I mean, perfect recon does not exist in this game. If you think you have enough, you don't. Buy more. And we were definitely feeling it here as both sides are just fighting to exhaustion in this game. You know, 30 minutes in, and we've seen so many super heavy losses, we've seen plane losses, we've seen all this different stuff, but this one was a little bit mean. So, the BMD3s is one thing, but I thought I had seen those OSAs retreat back to this side. I missed just a little, but 2 of them are taken out right there, and if we take a look in now, one of the MLs goes down, the other one does get the 52D, but as I said, teamed up air tabs, and we take down the other ML. So brutal combat, brutal combat from those planes, and I mean, peeling off a couple of OSAs in this late game when we've been using planes so much already is a problem, and then all of these Urals, 20 points apiece. I mean, goodness gracious, 100 points worth of resupply trucks just whammied right there by the Mar290s. Those won't all show up as kills either, because they actually technically killed some of each other with their explosions from the fuel and all of that inside of the resupply jeeps, but yeah, no. Now the T80Bs can't heal. Mi-24, well, if it was damaged or needed resupply, can't resupply there, and Red is barely holding on to Gulf. Plus we have more reinforcements now, so a second 3B coming up, Eye Sherman, more Eye Shermans just screening off these Zalaznichi and these light infantry, and more Peace Pheasant 2s, man, I swear. That kill list must have been a mile long. This is just, I mean, think about it. We were pushed all the way back behind Charlie. We were pushed almost completely out of Delta. Echo has been mostly locked down, but even now it's halfway eaten away. And yet, we were able to push back into Charlie, back into Golf. Just, I know that people love 1v1s, they love ranked and ranked only. This is what I mean, this was my first love in this game. Team games like this, where you just have such brutal back and forths, one after another after another. A UM taken out by a Peace Pheasant 2 in the last couple of minutes when it really needs to be there to save this CV infantry, and it's not because of one little moment, right? It was spotted just long enough. Peace Pheasant 2 came in, air defense. That air defense missing because of the Kurnos meant that the other one had its missile off, and even if it had it on, it's not really going to be reliably intercepting that Peace Pheasant 2, and you can see the consequences of losses in the first 5 minutes, in the first 10 minutes, in the first 15 minutes now, impacting these last couple moments in this game as Golf is decapped. We're ticking at a +2, 8 minutes at a +2, we have this lockdown well and truly away, and we have almost enough here to start pushing in, because keep in mind, the UMs are dead now. That T80 UK back here is the biggest tank that Red 4 has on the field in Delta at the moment, and it is not going to be good enough on its own. These Merkava 3Bs, the plan was basically in a couple of minutes we rotate over, we push in through. I was just making sure Echo's locked down first. Another CV snipe on Echo, but that's not the end of the world here, and I mean, the tanks now on their own, very, very quickly overwhelmed, especially with the Nimrod out. I didn't buy this thing too much earlier because I was a little bit worried about Tunguskas and OSA AKs, but I mean, that was a tank kill, that was infantry dead inside of their IFVs later on in this game too, and I do see why here in about a minute Red 4 is going to surrender. This was a really fun game. I enjoyed the heck out of it. By the way, Hideout, Major General, truly fearsome 1v1 opponent. So if you see this guy unranked, be very afraid. He is a very tough opponent. Of course, give it your best, play calm, play confident, and all that. But yeah, I mean, just amazing teammate for me, amazing up 4, just brutal game here. Thank you guys so much for playing it. And as we get into the kills and losses, 1-2 surrenders here. A couple of standout highlight units. We did go positive 59-25 to 47-25. A lot of that in the last 10 minutes as well, with the picks from Stribble on those excellent tanks. He went far more positive than I did, 25-40 to 20-80 here. And most of the brunt of that was felt by Hideout's super heavies, which is really pretty rough. Samurai had the sort of leading edge in on kills against my super heavies, which of course are worth a lot of points there as well. But 3D Bazes, really not the stars of the show. A couple of nice kills on that one, not too many on the other. The Mar290s did beautiful work. BMD3, VDB90, Mi-25, this one paid for itself, even excluding damaged units. Other Mar290 definitely paid for itself. 4 20-point resupply jeeps, VDB90 × 2, BMD3, Panzer of Nietzsche, Factoria, the Mar290s really kept me on that side of the map still in this game. The 2Bs did very well, and these guys were the ones who were cutting off those BMD3 reinforcements. And yeah, well, that's going to be all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and if you do like this sort of thing and you want to leave a like, share, subscribe, all that YouTuber nonsense, I'm always very appreciative of it. Share it with people if you're so inclined, and we'll see you guys again real soon.